Hey, Chad, you want to watch a movie?
Yeah.
How about...
No, not again.
Okay, what about...
I just saw that last week.
Okay, oh, I got it.
Wait. You want me to watch what?
So, what'd you think of Heavy Metal?
Heavy Metal. I was all set to headbang, and instead I saw more breasts than I think I'd ever seen in a single movie since Showgirls came out.
That's fair. So, hi. This is You Want Me to Watch What? Where Chad and I recommend movies to each other that the other hasn't seen, because sometimes they slip through the cracks. And so this week we're talking about the 1981 Canadian adult animated science fiction anthology film, that's a mouthful, Heavy Metal. It is based on the magazine by the same name that was a blend of dark fantasy, science fiction, erotica, steampunk, counterculture, basically. It's still sort of going today, but it started in 1977 and was really popular throughout the late 70s through the early 90s. But back to the film. The film starts, it's broken up into multiple parts, but it starts with an astronaut being ejected out of a spaceship in a Cadillac, plummeting towards Earth, parachutes deploy, the Cadillac lands, and then he careens home.
Great opening.
Great opening. To the tune of Radar Rider by the Riggs, or by Riggs. At the house, the astronaut arrives home and is greeted by his daughter, and he says he has something for her. And he opens up a case, and there's this green crystal sphere. It glows, lifts out of the case, disintegrates the father, and then begins to tell the child that it is the sum of all evil, the Lochnar, and it begins to tell its story and how others have tried to possess it over the years. The first segment is called Harry Canyon, and we meet taxi driver Harry Canyon. And he's cynical. It's the year 2031. He's very cynical and narrates in a film noir kind of thing. People try to rob him, and he has a disintegrator built into the back of his cab, so we're treated to that right away. As he's driving around, a woman she works for like a museum or whatever. They have the Lochnar. Mobsters try to take it. She takes it and runs, gets in the cab. They drive off. She needs help. She's hysterical. The police won't do anything about it. So he takes her home just to get her safe. They have sex. In the morning, she's gone, but leaves a note saying, hey, I'm willing to make this trade for money if and you can come with me. So he goes. He tries to help make the deal. It goes south. She double crosses him. He gets away with the money, I think. She's disintegrated because she tried to double-cross him, and that's the end of that story.
Greed. One of the great evils.
Yes. Then we circle around to a movie called Den, where a nerdy teenager finds a green meteorite near his house. And during a lightning storm and experiment, the orb, the Lochnar, part of the Lochnar possibly, transports him to a far-off galaxy where he is basically put through the He-Man process. He's gone from skinny and nerdy to buff and big and bald. Mm-hmm. Voiced by John Candy, by the way.
I was wondering if you were just on a John Candy kick lately. It's like, this is a weird follow-up to Harry Crumb.
It is. So going just by the name Den, he rescues a woman also from Earth who is about to be sacrificed. They're both captured and told, hey, if the group that you escaped from completes the ritual, they'll have complete control of the Earth, if you get the Lochnar for me, that won't happen and things will be better. Well, Den and some other people go to stop them. It gets thwarted. As Den is causing a distraction for the female leader of the group that originally captured him, or was going to capture him, the second person steals the Lochnar and tries to complete the ritual itself for him. Den is able to thwart both of them, and they ride off. Den and the girl ride off being happier here than they were ever on Earth. The next story deals with Captain Stern. Voiced by Eugene Levy.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that caught me off guard because I didn't recognize his voice. But
there were a lot
Captain
of
Stern,
SCTV voices in this.
Oh, yeah, well, it's Canadian, so yeah, they were easier to get than, whatever. But this story revolves around Crooked Space Captain Stern, who is on trial for numerous charges, including murder, rape, piracy, fraud, armed theft, and a moving violation.
That monster.
I know. He pleads not guilty, but he has an ace up his sleeve, a guy by the name of Hand Over Fist. Yeah. Fist takes the stand, and giving, nice reviews of the captain,
mm-hmm.
and he's fidgeting with this little marble-sized thing, which turns out to be the Lochnar, and it suddenly starts turning him into this giant hulking monster. And he crashes the courtroom and chases Stern around, and eventually he corners Stern, who gives him the promised payoff, and then he shrinks back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And just so there's no loose ends, Stern opens a trap door and ejects Fist into space, and the Lochnar goes floating through the atmosphere. In the next segment, we completely switch gears, and we are following a World War II bomber.
Yeah.
And it sustained heavy damage, and it's trying to limp back home. They hear some noise in the background. The navigator, the co-pilot, goes to check on it and finds a zombified crew member. Things get worse. The captain ejects, lands on an island littered with planes from previous eras and zombie pilots and whatever. More Lochnar fun. The next segment. A prestigious doctor arrives at the Pentagon to talk about weird, mysterious mutations plaguing the U.S. Well, it turns out he's a robot, and the aliens have landed to try to suck him back up because, well, he went haywire. And they also suck up an Earth woman as well. She falls in love or lust with a robot, and they have some adventures together while two of the other crew members get high. And they crash land into a space station. This last segment is really what ties everything together. During this time, the Lochnar is the size of a giant meteor and has crashed into a volcano. And in order to save the world, Tanara, a Tarekian warrior and the last of her kind, is summoned. And after she prepares herself, she mounts her steed and flies off into battle to face mutant barbarians and to try to destroy the Lochnar. She's captured. Things don't go well. She escapes, and she is eventually able to destroy the Lochnar. Move back to the little girl. After telling the girl all of this, the Lochnar begins to shake and disintegrate, and she runs. It explodes. The house explodes. And it turns out that she's the Tarakian Tanara reborn. A younger version of her flying mount shows up. She crawls onto it, and they fly away to the credits of the movie. So really, it's just a science fiction anthology.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me your thoughts, aside from the overtly excessive amount of drawn boobs.
So I had seen the sequel to this.
Okay.
Which
I have not.
Which is not an anthology. It's one story. It would have been better as an anthology because it's one story. Didn't need to be as long as it was. But the sequel came out in like 1999 or 2000, right around then, Heavy Metal 2000. Yeah. And I thought that was the movie in the same way that Dracula 2000 was its own movie. Right?
Yeah.
There are absolute gems in the story here. So the very first one, Soft Landing, which is basically our opening credit sequence.
Yeah, with the Cadillac.
It fills so much hype. It's like, man, this is cool. This is pure late 70s, early 80s. This is great. I love this. And then it gets weird, with the astronaut guy, suddenly he's melting. Grimaldi was fine, it just, in terms of stories, it's fine. It clearly is doing what it meant to do, which is to kind of bring up this thing. But I would say that, so Grimaldi is the astronaut. Grimaldi is that very opening, that's the...
Yeah, so Soft Landing is when we see the Cadillac descending from space.
So,
Grimaldi is when the astronaut, the father, opens the chest to show the little girl.
My notes got a little confused there. Soft Landing, very cool. A lot of hype. Looking forward to what's going on. Grimaldi, okay, this is our framing story. It's weird, and now we're going to have the Lochnar narrating things as we go. Basically, he's the Crypt Keeper. Or it's the Crypt Keeper.
Much.
And that's fine. Harry Canyon is the most accessible of the stories. Like, 'cause it's got a story to tell, beginning, middle, ending. And it's fine. It didn't grab me. What grabbed me was Den, hearing the voice of John Candy in that. Because, I heard John Candy earlier. He was, one of the cops,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, so he was one of the side voices. It's the early 80s. So, yeah, he's taking whatever jobs he can get kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Den comes up and is like, whoa, what? All right, let's see that. And it worked for me. It really did. That's what got me hooked on it was the Den. And then Captain Stern was just funny.
Yeah.
And so I was starting to see by that point, it's like, okay, so we've got, mobster kind of story. We've got fantasy adventure story. We've got comedy, in space kind of thing. Cool. And then we go to World War II. And I'm like, okay, this is most definitely creep show, especially that ending, where the guy finally lands and it's all of the zombies. It's like, okay, I'm expecting a so boys and ghouls. Oh, also I will say that Captain Stern had my favorite song of the movie, Reach Out by Cheap Trick.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoyed hearing that and seeing that. I don't know that I would... this is one of those movies I think really is best suited to being watched with a group of 40-something guys or 16-year-old boys.
Yeah. That's fair.
Like, I think that those are the two groups that are really going to get into this. Is the guys who are 40 now, you know, that remember this kind of animation and the really bad rotoscoping and the running out of budget when the house explodes, you know, kind of stuff.
Because it's clearly a model. It's clearly a model.
Very much so. And the 16-year-old boys that are like, okay, this is just weird. The same way that I would recommend Monty Python to a group of 16-year-olds. It's like, it is just absurd enough to be really, really funny and really entertaining when you quote it to your friends later. You know? Because I will admit that I laughed out loud and thought, man, 16-year-old Chad would have absolutely been quoting Den after watching. He was like, I'm not going to walk around with my dork hanging out. It's like, what a line. So, as an anthology, it's really good. As a singular story with the framing device trying to tell these lessons, I think there's definitely a couple of gaps in there where it didn't do as good a job as it needed to, shifting from one story to the next. Like, there should be an idea flow through that starts out pretty good. You know, this notion of greed with Harry Canyon moving into the rejection of kind of power, but evil will continue despite those who are good, kind of. And even, you know, that those who can kind of find evil or be corrupted by evil. Because the guy who is supposed to be the witness for Captain Stern, you know, that turns out not to be. But then it loses the thread a little bit. So I'm not bashing it because I've not read the comic magazine, and that might be how that works too, where it's like, this is just individual stories. Here you go. Enjoy them. You're either going to like this one or you won't. Also,
I've never read them either, but you're probably right. You're probably right.
So I will say that the soundtrack is fantastic. The voice work is surprisingly good. You know, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw out that the animation works for the most part. You know, there's a couple of spots where that rotoscoping is really, it's not done well.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it really is. And it is a product of 1970s and 80s animation, and for that it works well. So the movie is sexist, it's juvenile, it is clearly a product of its time, and it's still a pretty smart, kind of fun adventure to go on. Maybe not every month, but
This is true. So I remember first seeing this in the late 90s, early 2000s when I had access to like HBO or Showtime or whatever, and it was on. I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. And then I didn't watch it again until like the 2010s, and now I'm in the 2020s. So like every decade, it's good.
I'd say once a decade is fine. You know,
Once a
fine.
decade is fine.
A little bit of trivia I learned about this is that this was the first animated film to be released on like a THX certified cassette.
Well, yeah, with a soundtrack like that, it's gotta be.
You gotta.
Yeah.
So,
there was a section that was cut for time that was going to feature Pink Floyd's "Time" from the Dark Side of the Moon album.
oh, cool. I mean, it's a bummer that it didn't make it, but
yeah, I mean, I would have rather seen that than the B-17 section. Yeah. Apparently, snippets of it were included on the 96 VHS release and it's a bonus feature on the DVD release. But I'm just like, okay, that would have been cooler to be incorporated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh well, such as it is.
Such as it is.
But I mean, if you're kind of a product of the 80s, a child of the 80s, or you're in your late teens,
Yeah.
I recommend watching it just because it is both weird and engaging and with a killer soundtrack. So I recommend it conditionally.
I am good with a conditional watching or a conditional recommendation, but if you're going to watch it, sit down and watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't one of those. It's not a laundry movie. You got to watch it.
You got to watch it, and you know if you got to get up, you can pause it. Each section is short.
Yeah,
but you got to watch it. So, all right, yeah, conditional see it. You know, if you remember seeing the Rankin Bass Hobbit cartoon, you should also see this. If you were born in a year that begins with a 2, you should probably see this.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a conditional see it from both of us. I think that makes it your turn.
It does. I got an idea.